in a modern city lived a young man named Charles. He was the embodiment of meticulousness and precision. Charles was the person who color-coded his calendar, alphabetized his spice rack, and couldn't stand a single crease on his bedsheet. To Charles, perfection wasn't a goal, it was a way of life. From his meticulously planned work presentations to his flawlessly decorated home, Charles had mastered the art of control in every aspect of his existence. He believed that life was a puzzle, and with enough care and precision he could solve every piece, fitting them together into a perfect whole. But little did he know that his relentless pursuit of perfection was about to be challenged. Every morning, Charles's day began with a meticulously planned routine. He woke up at precisely 6:30 am, practiced yoga for 30 minutes, followed by a healthy breakfast of oatmeal, blueberry, and a precise amount of almond milk. His wardrobe was organized by color and season, and he never wore the same outfit twice in a month. His work desk was a model of orderliness, with every document labeled, every pen in its designated holder, and not a single stray paper clip in sight. His friends admired him for his attention to detail, and his colleagues envied his ability to meet deadlines with such flawless execution. But as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Charles felt invisible weight pressing down on his. The need for perfection began to suffocate his. The more he strived for it, the more unattainable it seemed. The once satisfying order now felt like a prison. One fateful afternoon, Charles decided to take a detour from his usual path. He needed a break from his meticulously planned life, if only for a moment. As he wandered down unfamiliar streets, he stumbled upon a hidden gem nestled among the towering skyscrapers, a serene Buddhist temple. The temple's entrance beckoned his with its intricate architecture and vibrant reds and gold. The scent of incense wafted through the air, carrying a sense of calm that Charles had long forgotten. He hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. Inside the temple, a sense of tranquility enveloped Charles. He gazed in awe at the intricately painted murals and the gentle glow of lanterns. His footsteps echoed softly as he explored further, eventually leading him to a courtyard where a Buddhist monk in saffron robes was tending to a small garden. The monk, with a serene smile, looked up and greeted Charles with a nod. Intrigued by his presence, Charles struck up a conversation. He learned that his name was Master Lino, and he had dedicated his life to the teachings of Buddhism. Over a cup of fragrance tea, Master Lino shared the wisdom of impermanence with Charles. He explained how nothing in life was permanent, and the pursuit of perfection was a futile endeavor. Life is like the changing seasons, he said. Just as spring turns into summer and summer into autumn, nothing remains the same. Imperfection is the essence of life. As Charles listened to Master Lino's words, something deep within him began to stir. He realized that his relentless pursuit of perfection was an attempt to control the uncontrollable, to grasp onto something that could never be held for long. Charles couldn't help but share his desire for perfection with Master Lino. He spoke with his need to make everything around his flawless and in control. The monk listened attentively and then smiled knowingly. "I can help you on your quest for perfection," he offered, "but there's one condition." Charles's eyes lit up with anticipation. "Name it," he said, eager to prove himself. Master Lino paused, then said, "I want you to make a flower bloom out of season." Charles's excitement deflated like a balloon. He had expected a task, but this seemed impossible. But how can I make a flower bloom out of season? It goes against the laws of nature. The monk nodded exactly. Perfection is often like trying to make a flower out of season, a pursuit that leads to frustration and disappointment. But if you can accept this task and its inherent imperfection, you will find the wisdom you seek. Determined to prove his worth and armed with his perfectionist mindset, Charles embarked on his impossible task. He researched endlessly, trying various methods to coax a flower into blooming out of season. He adjusted the temperature, manipulated the soil, and even played classical music to the plant. Days turned into weeks and Charles's frustration grew. He watched the flower's leaves wilt and its petals fall despite his best efforts. He felt defeated, crushed by the weight of his own expectations. It was on one particularly disheartening day that Charles returned to the temple, tears of frustration in his eyes. Master Lino welcomed his with a compassionate smile. He said, "Charles, have you realized that despite your best efforts, you cannot make the flower bloom out of season?" Charles nodded, his shoulders slumped. "I thought that I could control everything, make everything perfect, but it's impossible." The monk placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Life is filled with imperfections. Just as you couldn't make the flower bloom out of season, there are things beyond our control. Embracing imperfection is the path to inner peace." With time, Charles began to see the beauty in imperfection. He noticed how life's quirks, flaws, and unpredictabilities made it unique and meaningful. He saw that the most cherished moments were the spontaneous ones, the ones he could never have planned for. He started to find joy in the spontaneous laughter of children in the park, in the unpredictability of a summer rain shower, and in the warm, messy chaos of a potluck dinner with friends. Life became an adventure full of surprises waiting to be discovered. As Charles continued to visit the temple and learned from Master Lino, the transformation became evident to those around his. He no longer stressed over the minute of life, but instead he embraced its beautiful messiness. His relationship deepened as he learned to accept his friends and loved ones' flaws and all. He became more patient, more compassionate, and more understanding. His colleagues admired his newfound serenity, and his friends cherished his presence even more. Years passed, and Charles's life had transformed in ways he could never have imagined. He was no longer the rigid, perfectionist man who had walked into the temple that fateful day. He had become a person who saw the world with open eyes and an open heart. Every so often, he still visited Master Lino at the temple, not in search of perfection, but to express his gratitude for the wisdom he had shared. He had learned that life's beauty lay not in its flawless execution, but in its imperfect, unpredictable, and ever-changing nature. And so the story of Charles teaches us that the pursuit of perfection can be a relentless and ultimately unfulfilling endeavor. It is in embracing life's imperfections that we find true contentment and joy. Just as a flower cannot be forced to bloom out of season, so too must we let go of our need for control and perfection and learn to appreciate the beauty of life's natural flow. In the end, it is the imperfect moments, the unexpected surprises, and the spontaneous laughter that make life truly perfect in its own unique way. Last, if you like this video, please thumbs up and subscribe to the Anything is Possible tribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Stay smile.